I have the incredible privilege to moderate a conversation with two leaders who make their countries and their continent proud. President Paul Kagame, President of Rwanda, and President Cyril Ramaphosa is the leader of South Africa, which is the one country in the continent that has a rightful place in the G20 format. So they don't need much introduction, but let me share with you an observation of the two countries when we look at them from the side. At first glance, they appear very different in terms of size. I was actually quite surprised that when I calculated that in territory, South Africa is 46 times bigger than Rwanda. But in population, it is only 4 times bigger. They have very different geographic location, one with a big coastal line, the other one landlocked. But there are also great similarities. Let me start with sports. Both nations are very ambitious, and they chase each other in cycling. In nature, they are beautiful countries. And those who are lovers of nature tourism, they obviously would be honored to go to both countries. But what is, to me, very impressive is that they both have very strong ambition in e-commerce. Both countries are among the top 10 ranking in B2B, business-to-business e-commerce. The similarity that actually anybody who visits South Africa and Rwanda would carry is the aspiration of people and of the leadership of the country. Aspirations to be integrated in the regional and world economy, to provide high-quality jobs, to have opportunities for young people. I was recently in Rwanda, and I came hugely impressed by how the young people of Rwanda aspire to solve social problems of their communities, of their countries. And it is exactly the same in South Africa. So these are the leaders that we have with us. And I would like to start first with jobs, regional integration, trade. And turn to President Kagame. You did what many thought was impossible: integrate the region with a free trade agreement. How do you see this agreement providing opportunities for growth? What would it mean in 5-10 years from now? How do you see it lightening up growth in Africa?
Thank you, Kristalina. And you started on a very clear note about African countries, irrespective of geographical differences and possible other differences. There is a lot more in common, starting with the aspirations of one country on one end of the continent and the other at another end are the same. And this is what has made it possible for Africa. You've seen in the last years that Africa is talking more and more about integration, working together in all sorts of ways. In fact, that's also what has made it possible to realize this continental free trade area. It has been building up to that point. Africans wanting to work together, to trade with each other, to do all kinds of things in complementarity where everybody is a winner. In actual fact, again, there is a realization that Africa, a very big continent with 1.2 plus billion people, 55 countries. But if you prefer to look at it country by country and staying like that, you realize that any of these individual countries, even the countries that are actually big, significantly both in economic terms and geographical terms, when you disaggregate that, you find each country is small when you are thinking about the global events and the size of populations and other things globally. So coming together, integration makes the continent big, and all of us gain. Even small countries like mine end up being elevated to a higher level than the actual size if you looked at it individually. So the continental free trade area has come into being with that backdrop, and it is bound to benefit Africans in a major way. There is no question, because if you look at by region, if you look at regional exports, being at 42%, and the exports with the rest of the world outside of our continent being only at 15%.
Yep.
That already tells you the potential we have to gain through having a continental free trade area, as countries are now, in fact, 18. We are at 18 now, countries ratified, ready to go, and we have many others signing up and ratifying as we move. But at the first signing, the first day was 44 countries, which showed the appetite the countries had, again, based on the other aspirations I talked about, to make sure that we gain, and we gain by creating this space. We gain, again, there is more employment and jobs created, there is no doubt, and I gave you the volumes of exports, which again will speak for themselves. So I think there is no question about CFTA benefiting Africa, benefiting every individual country that is involved.
And it is a great legacy that you would leave behind.
There is no question.
I'm sure, I actually think that this is a landmark achievement for the African Union, and it deserves a round of applause from this audience. And if I may now turn to you, President Ramaphosa, you have an incredible resume. I read your biography and I thought, whoa, this is somebody who was student activist, trade unionist, freedom fighter, accomplished businessman, and a very effective politician. So what do I ask somebody with that resume? And then I thought I would turn to you in your strong standing on your experience as a businessman. I learned that you have a foundation that focuses on education and small and medium-sized businesses. So my question to you is, from that perspective, what do you think the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement means for private sector? What can the private sector do to make it successful? And how can the small and medium-sized enterprises benefit? How do you see it?
Well, thank you very much. I think you are right in calling for an applause, but the applause should also go to leaders like President Kagame, who, as the chair of the African Union, really shepherded this whole process and made sure that it finally happens. And the president of Niger, who was also given the direct responsibility. Yes. And both of them really did an incredible amount of work to make sure that finally we have a free trade area agreement, which has been built on the foundation of the political integration that was set up when the OAU was set up, and now the African Union. Yeah. And that political integration is holding, it's firm, it's effective. And on that, we've now got this free trade area agreement. Now, what does it mean in terms of the benefits it could yield? I mean, clearly, it opens up enormous opportunities for businesses on the African continent. The coming together of a market of 1.2 billion people is a huge opportunity for any business person or any business, small or large. It opens up great possibilities also for manufacturing, because it is a trade agreement that is going to enhance and enable products and services to be traded throughout the continent. Hitherto, we've tended to trade with other countries outside the continent. So this is an enabler that's going to make us trade within the continent, with each other, but it will also help small, medium, and large companies to start off businesses where they manufacture goods that are in great demand on the continent. So I see it in the end leading to the creation of manufacturing nodes on the continent. Industrialization will start spreading throughout the continent. But the other thing it will also do is the creation of jobs. Many jobs will be created as people begin to trade goods and services, and those companies that will take up the opportunities will want to create more and more products and sell them. The other important thing for me is that it is also going to lead to skills development. Skills will be spread, and we will also be able to benefit from best practice. So it will enhance competition amongst companies in various countries, but it will also lead to smart competition amongst nations as well, where they begin to develop specialization around producing certain products. Various regions will also spring up and be able to specialize in certain areas. And so I think this is a great boon for the continent. And if you like, it could well be the great industrialization moment for the continent. And already we've got a lot of business people in many countries who can't wait for the various governments on the continent to ratify this free trade area agreement so that they can get going. And those who have not yet signed are going to be under enormous pressure themselves from their various businesses, as those businesses will say, we're being left behind.
Yes.
So it's going to be a wonderful leveler, and it's also going to create all those great opportunities.
That is the future we want.